Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the complexity of specialized sources to deliver immediate, actionable insight.
Hello.
Today, we are tackling a really critical administrative hurdle. It's something that faces professionals in physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech-language pathology. The maze of getting paid by insurers.
It's a huge part of the healthcare world, isn't it? I mean, you can be the absolute best provider in your field, but if your paperwork isn't perfect, your clinic just doesn't earn a dollar.
Exactly.
We've compiled some sources that really shine a light on two terms that get confused all the time, but they govern totally different parts of your practice: credentialing versus payer enrollment.
And if you are a clinic owner, you need to understand this distinction isn't just, academic.
Not at all.
It is the difference between smooth cash flow and, well, crippling claim denials. Confusing these is probably one of the fastest ways to create a huge revenue gap.
Especially when you're just starting out. Our mission today is to untangle these concepts completely. And the sources give us a really sharp definition to start with.
Okay.
Credentialing verifies you are legally and clinically qualified to provide care. That's all about safety and compliance.
Right.
Payer enrollment, which is sometimes called payer contracting, that's what formalizes the business agreement. That's the part that authorizes you to submit claims and actually get paid.
So compliance on one track, business on a parallel track.
And both have to cross the finish line.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's dive into that first mandatory step. Credentialing. What exactly is being verified and why is it so stringent?
Credentialing is, well, fundamentally, it's a very detailed verification process.
Okay.
It's the mechanism that hospitals and insurers use to formally vet every single provider they allow to treat their members. The main goal here is patient protection.
Quality assurance.
Quality assurance, exactly. Making sure the patient receives the highest level of care from someone who has actually proven their qualifications.
So it's not just like checking a license number online to see if it's active. It sounds like they are really digging into your entire history.
Oh, they go deep. It's rigorous scrutiny. They're checking your education, your clinical training, all your professional licenses, and crucially, your past work history.
What are they looking for there?
They're looking for what's called primary source verification. Meaning they contact the issuing institution directly.
Oh, wow.
Your university, the state licensing board, your previous employers, they confirm the legitimacy of every single document you submit. And they're also checking for malpractice claims, any sanctions, or disciplinary actions.
That sounds like an enormous amount of administrative work, just gathering and verifying every single data point. Is there any way to streamline that part?
There is, and this is where a key player comes in that the sources mention, CAQH.
CAQH.
Yep, the Council for Affordable Quality Healthcare. CAQH runs a universal data repository. So you, the provider, you enter all your detailed information, licenses, training, history into the CAQH portal one time.
Okay, that's helpful.
It is. The insurance companies then draw that data from CAQH, but, and this is a big but, the insurer still performs the primary source verification themselves.
Right.
So CAQH helps centralize the data entry, but it doesn't really speed up the actual verification time, and that's the bottleneck.
That clarifies it. And we have to reiterate, this isn't just optional bureaucracy, right? This vetting is mandated by the highest regulatory bodies.
That's right. I mean, if you plan to work with government payers, which almost every therapy practice does,
Of course.
CMSS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and places like the Joint Commission require this process. They mandate credentialing before a provider can bill Medicare or Medicaid.
And who is managing this? Is it done once and then shared? Or does every single insurance company have to run their own investigation?
Unfortunately, it's the latter. Hospitals, health systems, and each individual payer, your Blues, your Cignas, your Aetnas, they all typically run their own independent credentialing review.
And it's not a one-and-done thing.
No, not at all. They require re-verification every 1 to 3 years. They have to make sure your license is still current and no new malpractice claims have popped up. It's an ongoing mandatory compliance loop.
So the outcome of all this is you're deemed clinically and legally qualified to treat patients in that network.
Correct.
But the critical distinction, the bridge we need to cross now, is that qualification alone does not give you the financial authority to bill.
Yeah.
You've met the safety standards, but the bank account is still empty.
Precisely. You're authorized to treat, you've met the quality benchmark, but the legal framework for payment is not in place yet. And that takes us directly to payer enrollment, the second parallel track, which is entirely a business transaction.
Okay, so if credentialing is the background check,
Yeah.
then payer enrollment is the actual contract negotiation.
Yeah.
What's the fundamental difference in the goal here?
The goal of enrollment is to formalize a contractual relationship with the insurance company. So while credentialing asks, are you safe and qualified? Enrollment asks, what are the rules of our financial relationship? The sources are really clear on this. This process fixes the specific business terms.
And when you say business terms for a PT, OT, or SLP clinic, that means locking down the fee schedule, right? How much you get paid.
Exactly. It dictates your negotiated reimbursement rates, how much they will pay you for a unit of therapeutic exercise, CPT code 97110, for example.
Sure.
It defines which services are covered, it sets the rules for prior authorizations, and it outlines the responsibilities of both you and the payer under that contract. Without an active enrollment contract, you have no pre-negotiated rate.
And no claim to an in-network payment.
None.
So that makes the process sound very different from just submitting licenses. You're submitting an application to become a contracted business partner. What are the practical steps?
Well, since you're applying to join a network contract, your clinic has to submit paperwork that's specific to each insurance company.
Ugh, again?
And if you want to accept Medicare or Medicaid, you have to use their specific government application system.
You mentioned PCOS earlier. Can you just elaborate on what that is?
Yeah, PCOS. It stands for the Provider Enrollment Chain and Ownership System.
Okay.
This is the specific application portal that Medicare and Medicaid use. So unlike CAQH, which is a data repository for many commercial payers,
Right.
PCOS is the government's dedicated platform for their application and vetting. If you don't successfully enroll through PCOS, you cannot bill CMS. Full stop.
That's a critical distinction. CAQH centralizes data for verification, but PCOS is the required government portal for the Medicare and Medicaid contract.
Correct.
And the goal of all this complexity is that sought-after in-network status.
That's it. Only once the insurer has reviewed your application, agreed to the terms, and that contract is officially in effect, can your clinic market itself as in-network and start getting those negotiated payments.
The sources are just so clear. You have to treat these as two entirely separate parallel applications.
Absolutely. Credentialing validates the therapist. Enrollment validates the financial agreement for the clinic.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the successful outcome of enrollment is getting a specific provider number for that specific payer contract.
Yes.
That number is effectively your license to bill. Without that contract and that number, your claims are just invalid in their system.
That is the most important takeaway. The provider number is the authorization to engage in the business of billing.
Let's move to where the rubber meets the road. We've established credentialing is the compliance backbone, enrollment is the revenue contract. Why is it so crucial that these run perfectly in sync? What's the real-world cost of a delay?
The interdependence is absolute, and the cost of a delay is immediate and potentially crippling for a young practice.
How so?
If you are fully credentialed, you're qualified to treat, but your enrollment contract is delayed by even 1 month, that insurer will not pay the claims you submit during that period.
Why can't they just pay them later once the contract is active? Can't you just backbill them?
And that is the painful reality clinic owners learn the hard way. While some payers might allow for some limited retroactive billing, many contracts state that claims can only be paid for services rendered on or after the contract effective date.
I see.
Plus, every insurer has timely filing rules. So if you hold on to claims waiting for the contract to finalize, you risk exceeding their filing window, which leads to a permanent denial.
So it's not a delay, it's just lost revenue.
It is months of excellent patient care that generates exactly zero revenue.
Wow. That shifts the problem completely. It highlights a massive operational risk. Okay, so conversely, what if you somehow start billing but you failed your recredentialing? You're not just losing money then, you're inviting a compliance catastrophe.
That's the other side of the coin. If your provider number is active but your credentials lapse, maybe your state license expired, or the insurer didn't complete the re-verification,
Right.
you trigger massive compliance red flags. Payers, and especially Medicare, view billing without active credentials as potential fraud. That can subject your practice to audits, recoupments, sanctions.
So both boxes must be checked for solvency and for safety.
At all times.
This brings up the question every new practice asks. Can a provider see patients before both of these long processes are complete? If a patient needs help now, What are the consequences?
The sources confirm that technically, yes, care can be provided,
Uh,
but the claims can't be submitted as in-network. That means the patient is responsible for the full, often uncapped, out-of-network bill.
oh,
It generates surprise bills, it violates patient trust, and in many cases, it violates state laws designed to protect consumers from these exact situations.
so the advice is just wait. Wait until both statuses are active to avoid the financial pitfalls and the legal exposure.
It's the only safe way.
Let's talk about the timeline reality here, especially for PT, OT, or SLP clinics that really rely on third-party reimbursement from day one. These processes are not quick.
They are notoriously slow, and that's entirely driven by that primary source verification we talk about.
Okay.
Our sources indicate credentialing typically takes 2 to 3 months, minimum. That's the time it takes for the insurer to contact your university, verify your license, check your history. It's like waiting for cement to cure. You just can't rush it.
And enrollment runs at the same time, but it often can't finalize the contract until the credentialing is nearly done.
Exactly. Enrollment timelines vary wildly. Some quick payers might take a few weeks, others can take months. But if you have a combined process that requires a minimum of 3 months before you can issue your first clean claim, that requires extreme foresight when you're setting up a practice.
And this is where it gets really complex for therapy practices, because they often have multiple practitioners. It's not just one person being processed.
It's an exponential administrative load, and that's the reality that sinks a lot of smaller clinics.
Could you give an example?
Sure. Consider a practice with 5 physical therapists, and they want to join 10 major insurance panels. Each of those 5 therapists must be individually credentialed with those 10 payers. On top of that, the clinic entity itself often needs a separate enrollment contract with those same 10 payers,
So you're managing dozens of concurrent administrative tracks.
each with a different timeline, and the longest one dictates your operational start date.
The lesson there is just crystal clear. Start these processes way earlier than you think you need to.
And have a dedicated, organized tracking system. It's the only way to minimize that pre-revenue gap.
Coordination is everything, not just for the initial setup, but for the ongoing operational health of the clinic.
It's paramount.
So let's climb this all home for our listener. The essential difference to really hold on to is that credentialing grants you the legal right to practice based on safety and quality standards.
Right.
But payer enrollment grants the separate, essential legal right to bill for those services under a pre-agreed contract.
And you must have both to function effectively as an in-network provider. One without the other guarantees either compliance failure or zero cash flow.
If we look at this through the lens of long-term practice management, the sources mention that recredentialing happens every 1 to 3 years, and contracts also require renewal.
Yeah.
This isn't just a startup task, it's continuous maintenance.
It is, and this raises a really important question for you, the clinic owner, to consider. Given that these complex, multi-month timelines repeat every few years for every single provider and every single contract in your practice, what continuous, systematic operational structure do you need to implement right now to ensure not a single renewal deadline is ever missed?
Because failure to track those ongoing requirements guarantees a future revenue interruption.
Just as painful as that startup delay.
A fantastic practical thought for them to mull over. Ensuring tomorrow's revenue is just as important as securing today's. Thank you for guiding us through this essential distinction.
Until next time, stay well informed.